Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN,
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
a Cromwell Media Station.
And we're off here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. It is the 6th at 6 o'clock. I'm Elijah Campbell, joined alongside again, second afternoon in a row with Michelle Knezovic. Michelle, how we doing this afternoon?
Elijah, doing good. I am ready for some basketball today. We've got NFL free agency. We've got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, you see my little background here. I got my little basketball hoop in the kitchen, if that just tells you anything.
See, you have a very appropriate background right now. You have the basketball hoop, because we're going to be talking basketball. I mean, last night was fantastic. A lot of great Sweet 16 games. There's going to be some great Sweet 16 games tonight. Some Elite Eight matchups. We'll get into that on the here later in the show too. But you got the hoop in the background. I got the nothing because we have not really decorated this part of our house yet. Even though we've been here since July. I know in yesterday's show, Tim on Twitter definitely noticed a pair of my girlfriend's boots on the back. No, those are not mine. As fashionable as they are, and I could pull them off, they're not mine. So just full disclaimer, I don't think I even took them down too. So if you're watching on the stream, my setup is not. Michelle wins the setup game here so far. But I mean, people watch the show on Twitter. People keep up with what we say on these shows on Twitter. And that is basically the reason why we have as much of content as we do today, because AJ Brown listens to this show. All right. And his tweets.
What a segue, Elijah. What a segue.
I mean, I got there somehow, but Twitter helps. It's a wild place, and it also helps me with our jobs here. But AJ Brown, for those who aren't caught up, because we're about to get into some drama here, and if you ain't caught up yet, you're going to get caught up. So AJ Brown makes this tweet whenever Marcus Mariota signs the Falcons. Signs the Falcons, says it's the best leader I ever had. Plainly. A lot of people interpreted that a multitude of different ways, including, well, if he's the best leader you ever had, what does that make Marcus Mariota? Michelle, our show's talked about it on Darren, Donick, and Chase with D-Mace. Your show and Robby and Rexrode has talked about this as well. Enough to where AJ Brown felt the need to address what Derek Mason has been saying. And he tweeted today at DMace85, Mr. Mason, I just want to say you are completely wrong, sir. Just because you/people may have a problem with RT, this is Ryan Tannehill, not retweet, doesn't mean I do. Our locker room is fine and is behind him. And I don't take shots at people without directly address them like how I'm directly addressing you. And another tweet in the thread, he said, I'm not from this weird planet. I was taught to show love to our loved ones and support them, and that's all I was doing. I took it down because of the slander it was bringing to one of my teammates. You have a good day, sir.
At least he told him to have a good day.
He told him to have a good day. He referred to him as sir and called him Mr. Mason. It was a very polite response because you can tell he's probably not very happy with how he's been, perceived after this tweet, you know. And this leads me to believe, Michelle, what are your first thoughts when seeing this? And D-Mace addressed the comments today on Darren, Donick, and Chase. And I mean, he addressed them as in he appreciates him responding. I'll sum it up for you because we talked about it all show. I'll give you the cliff notes here. He appreciates the candor in which AJ Brown speaks. He appreciates the politeness in which he spoke and tweeted at him. But his thoughts are the same. The reason that everyone thinks this is because AJ Brown led the tweet or drafted it to the point where it opened up the door for speculation whether he meant it or not. So, Michelle, what are your thoughts on former and current Titans wide receiver Tweetgate that we've had going on in these last 7-8 hours?
Yeah, so it's funny. I got off Robby and Rexrode, right? And I was driving to go become a Tennessee resident. We got the nice Tennessee license. And I get that, like, anything that involves Titans, like if it's tagged or something, I'll get notifications for it. So I was on Twitter right before I left the parking lot, and I saw the tweet and was like, oh goodness. I said,
you knew exactly what that meant.
Elijah right now. So obviously sent it to you and then heard D-Mace's comments on Darren, Donick, and Chase this afternoon. Basically, what I think is that this just got blown way out of proportion. I mean, Joe Rexrode, one of the hosts on our morning show, covered AJ Brown when he played with Marcus Mariota. And there was one specific game where Marcus didn't play good, or I think it was his last game as a starter. And in the locker room, he just saw AJ Brown extremely emotional. You know, Marcus Mariota was his quarterback when AJ came into the league. So, I mean, the impact that he had on AJ's life, just like coming into the NFL, right? Like not in college anymore, your first time in the pros, he meant a lot to him. And the tweet just saying, you know, he's the best leader I ever had. Yeah, we can like go into it and everything. And D-Mace has been in an NFL locker room. But also that was when social media wasn't so prevalent. Instead of tweeting congratulations to your friends, you were just texting them or something, right? We didn't have all this social media that we have nowadays. And it's so easy to just tweet it or something, or you want to know, hey, I still really respect this guy. Marcus Mariota obviously kind of got a, like, he was a starting quarterback, then he lost his job, then he was the backup, and now he's finally got a starting job again. I think it was AJ tweeting it out. Congratulations, Mariota. Like, he's one of the best leaders ever. You know, he deserves his second chance. But then I also can see where people say, oh, well, you're saying he's the best leader ever. You're not saying that Ryan Tannehill's not a good leader. You're just saying that he was one of the best leaders you've ever played with. And in this situation, AJ Brown has only played with 2 quarterbacks. So of course the eyes go straight to Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill's already under a lot of heat, just the way their season ended. So I think Twitter trolls really just hooked onto that. I think it was great what AJ did and just like, you know, addressing it. But I also think like you can just, there's no need to like tweet and apologize. Just DM Chris Mason or Derek. I said Chris Mason. That's Preds. Derek Mason. just DM him or something like, hey, we're cool. You know, like just want to let you know this is that. And then when D-Mace is on the show, he could just say something like, you know, AJ actually reached out to me and we had a conversation and this is what he said. But I think a lot of the times Twitter is a space where people kind of indirectly interact.
It doesn't leave space for nuance, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where how we got to where we are now. Like you mentioned, like it's okay to tweet something like, you know, bet like really good leader or happy for Marcus. I just like here's my thing about this the whole time. I think AJ Brown meant zero ill intent on that tweet at all. I think AJ Brown is a very genuine person. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very open and transparent about a lot of things. I think he also tweets like a lot of people do, like I have done sometimes. Like I'm sure a lot of people listening to this at times.
With our generation, Elijah.
Yeah, our whole generation has done this too, where we tweet or post something on impulse without thinking this is how it can be interpreted. Like I can do something or post something because it came into my head and like my instant reaction was that. But if I don't think about how I worded it, I could leave room for misinterpretation. A lot of people saw that with the way he said best leader I ever had. He could have solved his problem if he'd have been like, maybe I should put one of the best leaders I've ever had, or one of the best leaders in the NFL. Or
literally one change, one extra word could have just people could have thought a bunch of different ways. But we've grown up with social media. We're AJ Brown's 24, I'm 24. We had social media when we were 13 years old, posting on Facebook. And I look back at those posts and I'm like, what the heck was I posting? Right. And I'll probably look back in 10 years from now and see tweets that I sent out. And I'm like, I don't really know why I said that, or I probably should have reread that tweet before I sent it. And that's the, you know, social media is a double-edged sword, because once you hit send, it doesn't matter how quickly you decide to delete it. It's out there forever because somebody screenshotted it.
And that lives on forever. And the reason I also think like, I don't like when we're in this business, right? When we're covering these teams, these players, like even from afar, even if we interview them, if we have them on our shows or we follow them on Twitter, Instagram, we feel like we really know them. A lot of times we really don't. But so if I'm using context clues here, if you go back and look at his tweets about baseball, well, getting drafted by the Padres saying, hey, I still got what it takes to play baseball, or I miss playing baseball. Like, nothing wrong with saying that you miss playing baseball. People took it and misinterpreted it as maybe he's not happy with the Titans. He wants to play another sport. And he probably tweeted that without thinking that would be the case. And like, most other people won't have this problem because most normal people don't have the amount of followers that AJ Brown has. Most normal people in normal professions don't have
everything
fans
scrutinized about their life.
Have fans of their work look at them and say, oh, you tweeted this, you must not be happy doing this, because to them, all you are is like the football player. It's almost like a dehumanization to where you can tweet things and it not be about your profession, right? Like, I can tweet an eyeball emoji and no one's going to care. I mean, like, what's my eyeball emoji mean? Oh, I saw a Taco Bell commercial and now I'm hungry. AJ Brown can tweet an eyeball emoji, or if Ryan Tannehill tweeted an eyeball emoji, that's it. No words, no context, nothing. People
are like, oh, the Falcons.
Who did the Titans sign? Oh, who did the Titans sign? Oh, the Titans got Jarvis Landry, or they made a trade for a receiver. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen because of the following they have and because their work is so prominent. I don't think AJ Brown realized that until his tweets started carrying that weight. So whenever he tweeted that, it wasn't ill intent. I just don't think that he thinks those kind of words weigh that much, or that they're going to get picked apart like that. I think it's a lesson he's yet to learn. So when he does tweet on impulse, he doesn't necessarily think of the nuance that is missing in those tweets. And that's how we get to where we are right now. So I really think it's a lot of misinterpretation. I know D Mace disagrees, and that's how we got to him responding to this now. He definitely disagreed. And I think AJ did a good job being respectful to the point where I think Derek understands him a little more now, knowing D Mason the way, we do, that if he's right, he said it, he even said it today. If he's right, he's right. If he's wrong, he's wrong. He misinterpreted it, whatever. But I think it was a good dialogue. And I hope they get in contact to where they can discuss it between the two of them. And
hey, both Titans wide receivers, go get a coffee, go do something. Yeah.
The two from different generations and the most talented Titans receivers of their generation. Oddly crossing or gapping a bridge here from one generation to the other in a very odd, only in 2022 sort of way. But Twitter's a lot of fun. Twitter's an interesting, weird place. AJ Brown referred to it as a weird planet. But there's also been a lot on Twitter about the Browns and Deshaun Watson, not just trading for him, not just giving him the $230 million guaranteed contract. There's a lot of backlash over how the media press conference was handled today, and we'll tell you why on the other side as you're listening to The Six with Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Here they come, turn 4, final lap.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Join me for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8, and you can hear some of the big names in racing, like Denny Hamlin.
I always like to undersell and overdeliver.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It would be amazing to watch a Cup race compete there again.
Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot.
And several others. It's Chasing Checkers every Sunday at 8 on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This hour of sports brought to you by FlexCar.com. Ever add up your car expenses, monthly payments, maintenance, repairs, insurance? It adds up to more than you think. With FlexCar.com, for a low weekly rate plus mileage, you can forget about things like new tires or monthly insurance. So why not FlexCar your next car?
Winter's a bad time for your furnace to go out, but it's never a bad time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Start your bracket with a bang. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers $150 instant bonus guaranteed. That's right. You'll get $150 in bonus site credit, and all you have to do is place your first bet of $5 or more. How you bet the bracket is up to you. You can choose from the money line, totals, prop bets, and so much more. I have no predictions for this week because I was just that bad last week, and I just can't keep doing that to you all. Plus, with Cash Out, the ball is in your court, so you can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is even over. Join FanDuel with the promo code JGM, and then you can place your $5 bet to score $150 in bonus site credit guaranteed. Promo code JGM on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older in present Tennessee, first online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues non-withdrawable site credit expires in 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Dirks Bentley. Beers on Me Tour 2022. Friday, August 26th, Bridgestone Arena. I'm a little bit holy water, but still a little bit burning. Dirks Bentley, live in concert. Yeah, I'm somewhere on the beach. If you don't come through, buddy, that's on you, cause the beer's on me. On sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
Sunday.
Hey, Chase Elliott here.
Hi, it's William Byron.
Kevin Harvick. Hey, it's Joey Logano.
Green flag. The stars of the NASCAR Cup Series turn left and right on the road course at the Circuit of the Americas for the Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix. Checker flag. Coverage begins at 1:30
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game.
Mary J bringing us back here on the 6th, ESPN 1025 The Game. Super Bowl
the best Super Bowl performance ever.
Oh, it was fantastic. You knew that whenever that it was announced that she was going to be performing at the halftime show of the Super Bowl, this song was going to make an appearance. It is just an all-time banger. Absolutely. Kenny Adams on the ones and twos. Kenny, a pretty good radio DJ. Before we get started with this, Kenny,
yes, sir.
I'll let you take a little bit of a victory lap. Your Michigan Wolverines did take down the Tennessee Volunteers. Tough loss last night, but I don't know if you've gotten to take your victory lap on air in Nashville airwaves.
Oh, I didn't, but I sure as well talk cash money crap to every UT Vol fan that has something to say about me. But that's okay, you know. But we suffered our lumps last night. But hey, it is what it is, man.
Hey, I mean, you made it to the Sweet 16. It's a pretty good win.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you made it to the Sweet 16, but you know, it's always like, yeah, but what if we would have made it to the Elite 8? But hey, it is what it is.
It is. Kenny Adams, our resident Michigan Wolverine fan, the first person I thought of whenever that game went final. Wasn't all of my Tennessee friends and family that were devastated with the loss. The first thought in my head was, I bet Kenny is raging right now.
You know what? And I appreciate that because I'm sure that because I got a lot of texts and stuff like that talking about, hey, are you okay? Are you all right?
Kenny, I don't want to hear it. Kenny, I don't want to hear it. I'm a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
My phone was blowing up after that first game. I had to turn it off.
Now think about it. If we would have won, how many calls would we have got? How many calls would we have gotten? Seriously.
0.
Right.
That's true. It creates content. It creates content, especially when your personal Twitter or anything's Twitter is blowing up in a negative way. And today, guys, the Cleveland Browns Twitter has not been a great place to be. There are mentions, the little mentions button, the little app button at the bottom of the screen. If you have the Cleveland Browns Twitter handle, probably isn't the best because there might be some things that we could file under the bad look folder. And trading for Deshaun Watson's one thing, giving him $230 million guaranteed is another. And we can debate all day whether or not these 22 civil lawsuits that are all still pending against him for the exact same thing are valid or not. However, any team that was going to make this trade, whether it had been my beloved New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, or the Cleveland Browns, the team that did do it, were going to face a PR nightmare in return, regardless.
As they should.
as they should, because it is obviously a very scrutinized thing. Well, Deshaun Watson was introduced to the media today as the Cleveland Browns had their press conference. And the thing that stood out to me most, I've seen it, like I've read a lot of the transcripts of a lot of the things that I expected, and that is not directly answering a ton of questions that are very difficult questions, and not being maybe as transparent as you really should be when making a move like this, Michelle. But the biggest reason why I am filing this whole deal with the press conference, not just the signing, because that's a whole other story, but the press conference today, I'm filing under the bad looks folder, is that the ownership, Jimmy Haslam, a big name here in the state of Tennessee, anyone who has ever pumped Pilot gas into their car, you have funded Jimmy Haslam, wasn't present at the press conference today. Had a big to do with making this transaction. He greenlighted it. He owns the team. We're not there. It was not there. The ownership group was not there at the press conference today. And they kind of left their GM, Andrew Berry, to have to sit there and deal with all these tough questions coming at him, along with Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson. So, Michelle, when you see that, you see ownership, what to me, like they're doing a Zoom meeting today. Zoom meeting, you're doing a Zoom press conference or whatever, but not showing up in person to be able to do it.
You're the owners. I'm sure you can move that around.
Exactly. I'm sure they could pull some strings to get to Cleveland to be able to do this, but they didn't. And that's where that's where I can sense a little bit of cowardice. So, Michelle, when you see this, what is the first thing that comes to mind when knowing that, I guess, specifically?
Well, my thing is, if they got any other quarterback there, say Matt Ryan went there, ownership be up there schmoozing, taking pictures and all that. You'd be so excited. You got a new quarterback. This is a big day for the franchise. A great quarterback that's, well respected. If say none of this had happened with Deshaun Watson, and say this trade was just, it was time for him to leave Houston and none of these charges were even in the picture. And it was his introductory press conference today with the Browns, 100%. They would have been up there taking pictures, this big press conference, this big everything. But to leave your GM there to answer all of these questions when you played a big role in giving him the biggest contract after everything that's going on, you don't even know if he's going to play this year. I mean, maybe they probably know more than we do, and they know how the NFL has traditionally handled things like this, that they're probably thinking it'll be fine and that he will be able to play a majority of the season. If you're going to pay somebody that much money, Aaron Rodgers, right, gets the biggest contract. And then 2 weeks later, now we're here. I mean, my whole thing is you're just emulating what the NFL has done. You're not standing up and addressing the problem. You're hiding in the shadows and you're acting like a coward to the whole situation. This was your choice you made. You knew what you were signing up for when you signed Deshaun Watson as your new quarterback. So get up there and explain to everybody what's going on, because they have questions. There's no surprise they have questions. You better be ready to take the heat. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen and don't sign Deshaun Watson as your quarterback.
These are calculated decisions that I feel like you almost like these NFL teams are winning oriented and they're money oriented. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that they added an extra game to the schedule, much to the chagrin of the players union, not as a whole being on board with playing more games. They did it because.
And now it's not even.
Yeah. And now which infuriates me. That alone is infuriating, but it makes more money. It's a money-driven, money-oriented, and winning-oriented league. So whenever these owners are able, like there's so many examples of owners turning a blind eye to certain things, like the Greg Hardy thing, like Jerry Jones making sure the Cowboys signed Greg Hardy after the unspeakable things that guy did, was accused of doing, but I don't think ever spent any time behind bars doing. But like it was known that he probably did a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it, they'll turn a blind eye if you're really, really good. Like I promise you, Deshaun Watson doesn't get traded for if he was Baker Mayfield. Like say Baker Mayfield got accused of that. He is not playing anywhere.
So I need to step in for a second. I'm not sure what this is true, and I haven't seen anything on this, but I just checked out our text line, and somebody said that it has been stated that Jimmy Hausman has actually been in surgery today. That is being reported. I am not sure the accuracy on this. I just saw something on our text line, so we're going to look into that.
We will.
But obviously, if that was happening, it would be a different story, but not sure on the accuracy of that, just reporting that could potentially be something. I'm actually going to look that up right now.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything like that because they're still holding a press conference today.
Yeah.
But it did seem like one of those things where, and if there's a legitimate reason, then all right, I was wrong. But I haven't seen anything like that yet. It is fair to address, though. It's still.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on that.
I'm not either, so I can't really confirm that. But the Browns, and here's the bottom line too of all of this. The whole point of even bringing this up is the Browns are going to have to deal with this. Yeah. And the big question is, do they want to be cool with what's going on, everything that happens, if they still go 5-12? Say a couple receivers go down. Say Deshaun Watson doesn't play very well. He hadn't played in a year.
Or doesn't actually play for 6 games, or the NFL decides to suspend him for more games.
Yeah.
More than
what
6.
Happens then? Yeah,
right?
What happens?
I mean, they just gave Calvin Ridley a year. What if the NFL, there's more in the investigation, they find out more? There's so much information that is going on in this case right now that we have no idea on.
Yeah. And
what if they decide that, we're going to give him 8 games. We're going to give him 9 games. Okay, that's half the season.
It is. Yeah.
And now you don't have Baker, and I have no idea the backup quarterback situation.
Exactly. And I don't think Baker doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to want to stay around and be somebody's backup.
No.
But if things hit the fan, even if the defense isn't very good, there's a lot that can go wrong in an NFL season, right? Say a lot of that happens and they go 5-12. Are you willing to live with this kind of public pressure, this kind of public meltdown, the bad PR look in exchange for being 9-12, not 9-12, 5-12, or 7-10, 8-9? The AFC's gotten tougher.
It just puts that much more stress, outside stress, on your organization. I mean, I know this is a completely different level of circumstances, but I mean, they were doing Hard Knocks in season with the Colts, and you even saw when Carson Wentz didn't want to get vaccinated, then that affected just the locker room. And you're the quarterback, so you're the leader of the team. And when something's going on with you outside of football, it's going to affect a lot of different things. And like I said, obviously 2 completely different situations, but
it's going to be tough for them to navigate too. And that's another obstacle for that Browns team to have to overcome too. But it's something to at least keep an eye and ear on as the season progresses, as we get closer to the season too, what exactly happens with that situation. But there's already games tipped off right now. We're going to give you some updates, and man, Michelle, we're the resident hoop heads of the station. And last night was pretty significant. We'll react to that. We'll tell you everything that's going on and more on the other side here as you're listening to the 6 right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi, and this is Smashwell.
Going to the front of the net, he scores. What a gorgeous move. Roman Yossi.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for sports betting needs and info. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net, where the game starts.
Men, what if I told you that now you're able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMDformen.com.
It's Markdown Madness at Electronic Express. Bring the tournament to your living room with 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. Computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Markdown Madness is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Cobra, featuring the new LTDX drivers, engineered for the longest total distance with extreme forgiveness. Internal weights create the power core, and hot face technology delivers faster ball speeds at every contact point. 4 drivers to fit every golfer's needs. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Thinking about making a change? You've put in the years and had success, but ready for something more? Well, good news. Little Guys Movers is looking for folks just like you to own and operate their very own Little Guys Movers franchise. From Broadway to Brentwood to Mount Juliet, if you can hear my voice, there's an affordable, profitable Little Guys franchise opportunity nearby. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Join a team with 30 plus years of growth and good times. Learn more at littleguysfranchise.com and then make that call.
Robby Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexrode.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robby and Rexrode every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Meshing journalism.
They are 2 scores behind you. The math says that increases your chances of winning.
With sports fandom.
I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning, just emotionally numb from Titans and Packers.
And sarcasm.
You guys are the worst.
Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robby and Rexrode. No duh. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The March craziness happened. We almost peaked March Madness craziness last night as not just one seed, not just the top 1 seed, but the 1 and the 2 number 1 seeds going down in succession last night. Gonzaga, Arizona, down. Duke survives. Texas Tech shooting 71% in the second half against the nation's best defense to set up a crazy Duke-Arkansas game for a trip to the Final Four. So much happened last night, Michelle, but first we can go ahead and break down Arkansas and Gonzaga. Arkansas, the last of the Mohicans in the SEC, the team that finished 4th in the conference, the only one not just remaining, but beat the number 1 team in the country and is now 40 minutes away from a Final Four. It is so remarkable to see how this team was able to pull off that upset, and how out of all the teams in the SEC that we've talked about this year, this is the one that has a shot of playing in New Orleans next weekend.
I think we got to tip our caps to Eric Musselman. I mean, at the beginning of the season, Elijah, I actually went back and watched our courtside show. It was a November 2nd show, and we did our preseason rankings. And I think both of us, I had Arkansas at 8 overall, and I think you had them around there as well. We talked about them a lot during the beginning of the season and all their transfers they got, and their team looked stacked. And then the first couple of weeks, they just kind of fell into the shadows, and Kentucky came out, Auburn came out really, really strong. But in college basketball, what matters is how you're playing in March. And Arkansas is a testament to that. They might have not had the best start to their season, but Eric Musselman has taken this team to back-to-back Elite Eights and has a chance to go to the Final Four this year. If you would have told me this 2 weeks ago, what team is, what SEC team would be left, I'd say Kentucky, Tennessee, those probably would have been my two. I watched Arkansas get beat by Texas A&M in Tampa before the Tennessee-Kentucky game and was like, what is happening?
Got dragged. I don't think that game was really particularly that close.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I remember thinking, okay, like how much longer now until Kentucky, Tennessee? Because Texas A&M had them by a solid 10 points. It wasn't, it was a comfortable lead. And I remember thinking, wow, they're just falling apart at the end of the season. And I knew they'd be in the tournament, but that side of the bracket they were on with Gonzaga, even Memphis was in there. Baylor's on that side. I just wasn't sure what they'd be able to do. But as far as the Zags perspective, I mean, they were slightly getting by. I mean, the first round, Georgia State was with them for a solid 30 minutes. Memphis easily could have beaten that team. So we saw their weaknesses, and Arkansas was able to get the monkey off the back and send Gonzaga back home.
Here's the thing with Arkansas that blows my mind too, is like we ripped the transfer portal. I say we haven't as this show. We have not ripped the transfer portal, but a lot of college sports media rips the transfer portal. They talk about, you know, this is so hard for coaches to build continuity or get winning teams. Well, it's not, because you know what Eric Musselman just did? He poached other teams. He's like, this is where the college basketball is right now. If I'm not going to get the top recruits in the country, I need to get veteran players who can come in and play my style. He took Stanley Moody from South Dakota. He took Adi Tony, who I thought was the best player on the floor last night, from from Pittsburgh. He got Adi Tony, the backup point guard from Miami. Chris Likes from Miami to be the backup point guard on this team.
I think is going to be Iowa, by the way.
Yeah, this is the crazy thing to me, is that they did take their lumps. And it's almost like predictable. There are certain teams that we talked about, Michelle, at the beginning of the season. Like, to me, it was Texas. I thought Texas would be the team that got all these transfers, would take maybe some lumps at the beginning of the year, and then separate themselves at the end of the year. And what Arkansas is doing everything I thought Texas would do. And once Arkansas got beat by Hofstra, not just get beat by Hofstra, give up 89 points to Hofstra. I thought they might have been broken to the point where, like, yeah, well, they can maybe get in the NCAA tournament if they're lucky, get to the second weekend, whatever. But then, after taking that loss to Hofstra, after getting into conference play and getting beat by Vanderbilt at home,
without Rodney Chapman,
one of
Vanderbilt's best players,
they made a run through the SEC. And if they didn't bury themselves in the first 2 weekends of the SEC play this year, they could have won the regular season. I mean, easily. They could have easily won the SEC regular season. It's just amazing how the defense is jailed. When you watch that game last night, they made Gonzaga's forwards uncomfortable. And I think if any team was going to beat the Zags, it's going to be someone who has to make their forwards uncomfortable, because that's where their advantage is, right? Like Drew Timme, Chet Holmgren, that's where the advantage is. And Jalen Williams has gotten so much better as the season progressed. He had to give his best when Oscar Tshiebwe was at Arkansas. Didn't keep him off the boards all game, but he kept him off the boards enough. They didn't have to score a bunch all game, but last night he scored enough, especially when it came to shooting threes, because Gonzaga dared them to shoot from the outside. And they didn't hit a ton of threes. They didn't hit a high percentage, but the ones they did hit were daggers.
Well, and the fact that Chet Holmgren fouled out with a solid amount of time left in the second. And also Drew Timme, I mean, he had shots, they just weren't falling, right? Yeah. He had good looks in the paint, and there were 3 or 4 at the end of the game that would have, made it a 4-point game or made it a little bit closer. So then they would have only needed maybe a 3 or 2 more shots to tie it up. He honestly they were bouncing around the rim. He just couldn't follow through and get him to go in, which, I mean, we've watched his career. He's been an amazing player, and he absolutely loves that Zags program. And I'm sure it's heartbreaking for them. And obviously, the basketball fan, I think people are starting to get a little fatigued by Gonzaga, just because the conference they play in and they dominate it and
Mm-hmm.
they made it to the tournament. And then everybody's reaction is, oh, they're not that good. They're a 1 seed. They go practically undefeated every year in the conference. But it's like, okay, well, they also they've made it to the championship game, what, twice in the last 3 years?
I think it's twice in the last 4 or 5.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
4 years. So I don't care what conference you play in. March Madness is set up where that is very hard to do. There's a stat out there that I think it was from last year, 2 years ago, and it was something about the amount of teams that have been in the Final Four in the last 5 years. And it's like over like 30 teams because it is so hard to get back there year after year.
It's insanely tough. And like this Gonzaga program, I feel like has proven themselves. And they've already proven themselves to be an elite level program. And last night, Eric Musselman proved that he can get Arkansas to that same level to where, especially if they make a Final Four this year, if they end up beating Duke, like then you can talk about the Arkansas being the premier team in the SEC outside of Kentucky because they've been proven to do this in March. And as long as Eric Musselman's going to be there, you're going to have a chance because he's that good of a coach. And I mean, speaking of great coaches,
if they make it to the Final Four, will he rip off his shirt again?
I hope so. I hope so. A list of people I want to see rip off their shirts if they make it to the Final Four or win the national championship. Coach K, definitely number 1. I have Eric Musselman number 2. That if you're Coach K, it's the only way to go out. I mean, that's the only way to go out. Like you win, you have no other games. He already has nothing else left to prove. But why not? You can never have a chance to do this again. I mean, absolutely. Like
I think I could without seeing that, maybe like a crowd surf or something. But I don't think Coach K needs to rip off his shirt.
Go all out. Live like there's no tomorrow, Coach K, because there is no more basketball tomorrow. And I mean,
he could pull a Brady and retire then unretire.
Could you imagine what people would say if Duke did all of this to celebrate his last year? He had this big grand retirement tour, and he's like, "Nah, I think I'm going to come back. And be quiet, I'm coming back." And like that would be.
Just get mad if the team's not looking good next year and be like, scooch over.
He calls up John Shire and is like, "You know what? I'm coming back and I'm taking over and finishing what I started." That would be pretty funny. That would be the ultimate Tom Brady-esque look at me, Louie kind of move on the planet. But
that's who I compared Coach K to, though. You look at Tom Brady in the NFL and what he has done is just so incredibly amazing and unbelievable that he has been able to win the amount of Super Bowls he has.
Yeah.
That is Coach K for men's basketball. Everybody's always on me. I mean, you know about Cal. He's only won one championship. And it's like, okay,
this mess is
hard. The amount of other Hall of Fame coaches who have only won one championship. Izzo, Jim Boeheim. I mean, Pitino's only won 2. And I compare him to like an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just because Aaron Rodgers hasn't won more than one Super Bowl doesn't mean he is not one of the most amazing quarterbacks in the game. Arguably one of the greatest skill quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah. I mean,
Cal's not a coach, not a player.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. It's like when evaluating coaches in terms of how they do in March, like a lot of it's fair because a lot of times the way a coach can coach cannot be conducive to a single elimination kind of tournament. If a coach isn't great at scouting, you have such a short scouting window that you have to be elite at scouting to win national championships. And you have to be that kind of attention to detail and detail oriented. But what other sport is there where you have to win 6 straight games in your postseason setting to win the title? In the NBA and NHL, you're playing
short
series.
Period of time.
Yes, in the NCAA or in the NHL and NBA, you have to win more games, sure, but you have margin for error. You can lose 1 or 2 in a series and not lose the series. In football, the best team in the regular season only has to play the divisional round and the conference championship before you get to the Super Bowl. Well, in college basketball, everyone has to win 6 straight games to win the title. You are playing a 6-leg parlay where you cannot lose each time. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes you get tripped up on the 4th or 5th leg. That's how it happens.
Off shooting night. The NBA, those series allow you to have an off shooting night. Are you going to tell me St. Peter's would beat Murray State in Kentucky in a 7-game series? Are you going to tell me Michigan was going to beat Tennessee in a 7-game series? You could, or the Gold UMBC with Virginia a couple years ago. That's why March is so special, because you only get one shot and you're going home. It's not the SEC tournament. You're going home.
The built for randomness factor of this tournament is why it is so great. And like, if
also speaking of the Peacocks, they are hanging in there with Purdue.
I don't know what your TV's on right now. I'm watching it on iPad, so I'm at a consistent 30-second to minute delay at all times. Purdue just hit a 30 to go up 27-25 with 4:45 to go in the first.
Okay, yeah. So I was just on Twitter, but that's about what I got to. So, I mean, they're not going away. It's National Peacock Day. I'm just saying.
The Peacocks are in the midst of one of the best runs that a mid-major's ever had in the NCAA tournament. Can they keep it going? We're going to talk about this game on the other side. We're also going to break down some of the other final or Elite Eight matchups that we're going to see tomorrow, and then answer the question. We talked to Coach K. Is he really going to do this in his last year? We'll discuss. Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, the 6, right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Tune in every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Nashville's own Jason Fitz with Jarrett Stillman and company. Fitz started his sports talk career right here on 102.5 The Game, and now he anchors shows for ESPN.
I have them right now
Jason
down
Fitz is brought to you by Blood Assurance. Give blood.
Down
Give
2
local,
with
give
3:51 to
life.
go.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
A cool weekend ahead with highs in the
They
mid
count
to
that
upper
bucket.
50s. Widespread
Yes, they
frost
counted that
expected
bucket.
early
They're not
Sunday
going
morning.
anywhere.
Both days with partly cloudy
disco
skies and a bit of a
turkeys.
breeze on Saturday. For Fox
The
17, I'm
disco
Chief Meteorologist
turkeys.
Katie Morgan.
They're playing. That's got an annual one. They can take
This
the lead
weather
right here.
report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
Shine down in 3, 2, 1.
The hottest rock band on the planet, Shine Down. May 4th, Bridgestone Arena. It's about to get with special guests, The Pretty Reckless and Diamante. Shine Down. Tickets are on sale now at the box office and Ticketmaster.com. Presented by 102.9 The Buzz, Nashville's rock station.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and pay time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
ESPN's Teron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Final segment here on the 6th. I'm Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Sunny day here in Nashville. 6:49. Michelle, I just got done saying the time, but will the clock strike midnight for this Peacocks team? Right now, on my iPad at least, I'm a little behind. They're tied with Purdue with 3:42 until halftime. They are hanging in there. And I have a big key for St. Peter's if they're going to pull this thing off. And I'm curious to hear what you think about it. But your initial thoughts right now, hearing that St. Peter's, the Peacocks, a.k.a. the Disco Turkeys, whoever came up with that nickname, it's hilarious, hanging tough right now. Purdue just scored, now only down 2.
Listen, I don't care what anyone says. Joe Rexrode was at the tournament. He said he was with Kyle Tucker, another athletic writer, and they were watching this game against Murray State. Like, is this really happening right now? They're watching Doug with the mustache, who's basically been the face of their program since they have gone on this just amazing run in the tournament. Heck yeah, I think they can do it. I look at this Purdue team, and you think about earlier this season when they got ranked number 1 in the country, first time ever, first major basketball program that hasn't been ranked number 1 during the season to get it. And then the next game they fall to Rutgers. I want to take a look at this tournament and take a look at everybody who has faced St. Peter's. First game, Kentucky, St. Peter's. They're hanging in there the whole game. They're not letting up whatsoever. You think about how those huddles probably look. St. Peter's is Shaheem Holloway, their head coach, is probably like, guys, Kentucky, number 2 seed, everybody's projected them to like easily go to the Final Four. A lot of people think that they could win. They've been performing like a national champion earlier this season, been dominating teams, beating Kansas by 20. Like you're hanging in there, right? Whereas on the other side, these Kentucky kids are like, oh crap. Like we thought this was going to be an easy breezy, beautiful to the round of 32. And then they start to tense up. They start to get nervous. Look at Purdue. They're the ones with all the pressure on their back. They're the ones, everyone is watching this game. This is not the round of 64 where there's so many games on, you can't watch every single game. This is the Sweet 16. All eyes have been on this Peacocks team since they beat Kentucky. Nobody thought they would beat Murray State for the next round. I mean, even we talked about it on Courtside, which we'll be doing tomorrow morning, 9 to 11, recapping all of these games. So I really hope we get to talk about a Peacocks win on National Peacock Day. How freaking awesome.
Perfect irony.
I mean, honestly, I picked them. I even put some money on money line for them because it is crazy. If you look at these teams, you look at Purdue, they've got a 7'4" guy, and you look at if you looked at this St. Peter's team, you're like, oh, like, are they play in a gym that looks like a high school gym.
It's tiny. It looks like my old high school. My old high school gym's probably bigger, actually.
The fact that they are competing with Purdue,
the number 2 offense in college basketball, it's incredible.
Listen,
really
I don't have any words. I don't even know how they're hanging with them. I don't even know how they're doing it. I don't know how they beat Murray State. I don't know how they beat Kentucky, but they're doing it.
It's magical. It's March.
Listen, Shaheem Holloway, I've listened to a bunch of his interviews. I've told you before, but my brother's a college basketball coach. He coaches junior college. One of his players actually in Texas, who he's coaching right now, was on that St. Peter's team.
Wow. Cool.
Shaheem Holloway, they parted ways, right? You know, we see a lot of movement in college basketball, but he said he's a tough coach, and that does not surprise me. Like, but you can tell those guys respect the heck out of him.
And he gets them ready to play, and they don't fear anybody, which is the number 1 element. And here's one thing that I do think is going to be the thing to watch tonight. St. Peter's is, in terms of opposing teams' free throw rate, one of the worst, I don't say worst, one of the highest in the country. So their opponents shoot I think their free throw rate is like 0.41. So they're almost shooting at it's almost 1 free throw for every 2 field goal attempts for the team. In other words, St. Peter's fouls a lot. They play insanely physical, and they dare the referees to call it.
Jersey guys.
Yeah, they're Jersey dudes, and they play like Jersey dudes. They're tough. They're physical. And when they don't back down, they are they're daring the referee to call it. They're going to try to maul you as much as possible. And if the ref calls it, ref calls it. So teams that play them need to be good free throw shooting teams. What happened to Kentucky in overtime? They went 1 for 6 from the free throw line, but they got 6 free throws in the overtime period. They got more than a free throw a minute because that's how the St. Peter's teams plays. They dare you to call it. They dare you to make your free throws. Kentucky couldn't do it. Murray State couldn't do it down the stretch. They did not have a great free throw percentage. This Purdue team, almost less than 70% as a team at the free throw line.
So they're already starting off.
The two big guys, Zach Edey, the 7'4" behemoth that we talk about, plays half the
He's
time.
taller than me.
Not a very good free throw shooter. Travion Williams, the backup center, who comes in whenever Edey's not on the floor. They never share the floor at the same time, very rarely. A little over 50% as a free throw shooter. If they do a hack-a-Zach or a hack-a-Travion Williams, doesn't have the same ring to it, they can keep themselves in this game if they rebound well. They can give up a lot of free throws, but if Purdue isn't coming up strong on those, like they did against Texas, they shot almost 50 free throws against Texas and couldn't pull away because they struggled making free throws. That is the path for St. Peter's. But I did tease this. Is Coach K going to do this in the last year? We don't have a lot of time because we got Peacock Fever on the show. But Michelle, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the likelihood is that this Duke team, the way they're playing right now, especially against really good defenses, can actually do this on Coach K's final season? They're only 3 games away.
I think it is very possible. I mean, we saw what this Purdue team did against Purdue. We saw what this Duke team did against Texas Tech, one of the number one defense in the country, and they shot 70% at the end of the second half, hit 8 of 8 in their last 8 shots. If they continue shooting like that and they remember to play defense, Duke will ride right along to the national championship. And I honestly don't have any doubt about that. But if Coach K does this again, as much as I want to roll my eyes and everything, we do have to tip our caps to say, wow, what he has done in college basketball is actually pretty amazing. I mean, it's on a Tom Brady level. You don't win that many championships if you are not just amazing and one of a kind at what you do. And just the craft of coaching, it's pretty unbelievable, especially if he'd be able to get this last one. It would be a great way to go out for him. I know we'd probably never hear the end of it, but as much as Duke annoys me because I'm a Kentucky fan, you hate them because you aren't them. If I went to Duke, I'd love every bit of it. But it'd be pretty amazing if he did that.
And here's an interesting stat too.
We probably would never see it again in our lifetime.
I think since 2000, Coach K and Duke have won the ACC regular season twice. In those 2 years, they also won the national championship. This year, Duke won the ACC regular season outright. So if history tells you anything, I'm just saying the pattern. I don't know if it happens or not, but we're just saying the pattern. But it's gonna be fun to watch, and it would be good for the sport if Duke is in it in the national championship game a couple Mondays from now. You've been listening to The Six. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. Hear us on Courtside with Campbell and Knezovic tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. to get you ready for the Elite Eight. We'll see you tomorrow. ESPN Radio is next.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This is Chef John from Kitchen